Okay, let's call the meeting to order at 8:30 and stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Well, good morning. Today we're in the last of the three budget workshops for the Commissioners Court. We convene at the Nueces County Commissioners Courtroom. We have a quorum present of the Commissioners Court, and we will hear first from the IT Department. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to discuss the budget for the IT Department, and basically we put together a death by PowerPoint here.
Okay.
But we moved to, well, it's on the next page. The demands continue to rise, and 2016, 15, and 16 has been a very interesting year. When you look at what we've started or accomplished or done during the year, there's an awful lot of stuff on the list here. We did finish the wiring for the jail, courthouse. We did install the call manager for the new IP phone system, and that's ready to go. The only thing that's left to be done with that is there's a bit of turmoil within AT&T on the porting of the numbers from the Avaya system, which basically is supported by Windstream Paytech, over to the AT&T. So yesterday I received an email from Pam Garcia at AT&T. I told her we had to make this a real priority. We should have had this done back on May 23rd, and I'm not sure why AT&T is so messed up.
Mike, I know I have to ask you an awful lot of dumb questions,
Yeah.
but would you explain what you just said, what the importance of all that was to the court?
Well, what it is when we go to what we call internet-based phone system, that's what we're working on.
Right.
So we've already put the phones out to social services veterans in the IT department. They're there. And so, pardon me?
That's at the RTA building.
No, they're here right now. Now, when we get the circuits or the numbers, what we call ported over, in other words, AT&T has to notify Windstream Paytech, who is our provider for the courthouse, that those numbers are going to be deactivated with Windstream Paytech and reactivated under AT&T. And what that means, they're changing from Windstream circuit to an AT&T circuit. So when the calls come into the courthouse, it's coming in on a different service line, and it's a different type of technology altogether.
And we're behind.
Well,
Judge, it's really, we can't move the RTA building until they do this, and I know that Commissioner Pusley has directly talked to people and
Right.
thing along with Mike, but
You know,
it's
when
been
you
6
switch
weeks.
when you switch, from like your cell phone, you have Verizon, and you want to go to AT&T. AT&T has to make a phone call to Verizon and tell them, we're taking your number that's with you right now, and it needs to go with us. Right now, we are waiting for AT&T to make and
The phone call.
negotiate that phone call between our current provider and this. So the phone's there, they can call out, but in order for a call to come in, they've got two phones on their desk. Right now, the Avaya rings, the one that's the old courthouse. In order for the Cisco, the new one, to ring, that phone call has to be made, and they have to do what they call a number port. And that's the piece that should have been done over a month ago. And
I would assume this is relatively simple to do in today's modern world. So
our assumption was the same
Yeah.
until this happened.
5-minute phone call.
And the issue
oh my God,
again at the RTA is we don't have the old phone lines there. I mean, they can't do anything over there until we get the port over.
okay, all right, thank
So
you.
who is our current provider for the courthouse?
it's a company called Windstream Paytech, and they're on a month-by-month contract.
And what do they provide?
They are providing the primary rate interface circuits that provide a PRI, which is the circuit into the courthouse.
They're providing the current service.
Right.
They're the ones that, it takes us about 10 seconds before you get a dial tone inside the courthouse.
Yes.
It takes forever to get somebody over here.
Well, that's not a problem with Windstream. That's a problem with the old Avaya system.
With the, what?
The old Avaya phone
That's the
system.
old county switch.
When Tom Miller bought
Who did you say had to contact who?
AT&T has to contact Windstream Paytech, who has our current phone service, and tell them they're taking those numbers away from them and they're taking over the service for them.
You think they want to do that so they can make money against AT&T?
Your mic, Commissioner.
But I don't know what the, is there somebody we need to call, or somebody, the judge can call somebody, or what?
Well, I gave Commissioner Pusley the name, numbers, and email and everything for the CEO at AT&T, who resides in San Antonio.
I even attempted to see if there was a workaround. I contacted Windstream because they weren't too happy they were losing the business, for obviously. And he said if there's anything we can do. So when this got really bad, I called him and said, can y'all install a SIP, which is what we purchased from AT&T? Because internally there shouldn't be any porting that needs to go. If you go from a Verizon from one phone to the other, they don't have to port anything, right? So we called him and he said that they cannot install the SIP here. I don't know if AT&T has some sort of territory on that, but they couldn't install it. So we can't have Windstream do it, and AT&T has to call them to get it. It's just this big mess.
Well, okay.
I think we're close because we have another player in the mill, and I responded to an email yesterday and provided all the numbers again to this gentleman, and I think we're going to probably hear something today on a cutover date.
Hope so.
I hope so too. I mean, this has been miserable.
Okay.
Maybe one of the district judges can get on the phone.
Commissioner,
That has been suggested earlier today too. So.
I know Judge Longoria would be glad to do it.
Well, let's see what happens today, and we'll try to keep on top of this and keep things moving. So, moving on to some other items here, we replaced all of our, I hate to get technical, but AT&T T1 circuits, which are a circuit that's point-to-point, and we had those installed to most of our remote county offices. Data rate on that was 1.5 megabits per second, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but Time Warner has installed fiber for us, and now we have data rates to all of our remote county offices anywhere from 10 million bits per second to 50 million bits per second. And so our larger locations, such as the Calderon Building and Adult Probation, have the faster circuits. Locations like Agua Dulce, Port A, and those are on the 10 megabit circuit. So what that means, the computers and workstations out there are responding a lot faster. I'm not getting complaints anymore from judges out there saying my screens don't load, it takes too long, I can't get things done. So we've taken care of that one. At RMB, we installed 200 megabits of Time Warner service over there. When we went through the recent EOC drill over there, it worked incredibly well. Faster than anything I've seen anywhere. And so that's a service that'll be available there for events. It's also a service that if we have a hurricane or an emergency, it's going to be available for that. What we intend to do with that, by the way, is set up a fiber link between RMB and the library, so that service can be shared with Ida at Keach Library over there. So we'll have two people utilizing that high-speed service, and she wants more service. We upgraded our services to ESC2. We were at a 60 megabit rate. We've moved that up to a 200, and actually I've seen 300 data rates through that connection to them. So as we get more and more involved in the internet, our internet connection needs to be a lot faster and more responsive.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
on that ESC service, what is our relation to ESC, and what did you just say there about ESC2?
ESC2,
Service, or we used to have to connect through them before.
We did that years ago, and I'm going to say it goes back to about 2003, maybe a little bit before that. They offered us a option for a contract with ESC2 at the discounted rates. We could not get that rate anywhere else. And so when I met with the folks over there, they said we'd love to add Nueces County to our service. Initially, our email was esc2.net. And since we've installed our own servers, now we're on our own domain. So they started out providing us initially email service, and then they started providing internet service. And we've stayed with them ever since because we're getting a real bargain with them. This 200 megabit service, we're spending about $63,000 a year. We could never get that anywhere else. Plus, they have technical people over there that support us, and they're very good. So they provide our filtering for spam, for viruses, all kinds of things that we would have to spend a ton of money if we did it ourselves.
So our internet service, that's where it's coming through.
Right. Yes, they provide our access to the internet. Another interesting piece to that, they approached us a couple months ago about utilizing Region 20 in San Antonio for our backups. And that is a very interesting option. That would allow us to move our data files to a completely different system in a different town, different location in case we get into a hurricane. In fact, they could even provide servers to us if we lost this facility. So there's a whole lot that goes into what ESC and Region 20 provides for the state of Texas. So, does that answer your questions?
One quick question. Data link to the library, have you worked with Glenn and the contractor with Naismith as far as going under Terry Dempsey?
Yes.
I spoke with him. He said I didn't ever see a quote.
I don't know, but I know that we need to do it when we're doing the.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we need conduit basically between R&B in the front sidewalk area on over to Keach, and then we can connect up that 200 meg circuit to both locations. So.
And that is that going to be provided directly by Time Warner or
Yes.
your company?
Well, Spectrum.
Spectra, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call them.
So they'd be providing it to the fairgrounds and to.
It's going to be the same circuit. So what goes into the fairgrounds will also be available over at Keach at no additional charge.
What happened to the connection to Corpus Christi?
That was a problem where lightning hit a tower, and they wanted like $25,000 to replace the Tropos units that were on there. And so basically we said that seems like a lot of money for something that only supports 10 or 15 people. We wanted something much bigger than that. This can support 200 or 300 people.
They were doing line of sight from the old sewage place.
Right. It was the water plant at Stevens originally over to the fairgrounds, but it never was able to support more than max maybe 20 people. It just wasn't fast enough. So in an emergency, you probably couldn't rely on it as much as you might expect from this.
So in case of an emergency or somebody digs up some dirt that they shouldn't have dug, we're back to cell phones, to satellite phones?
Well, yeah. I mean, electricity, all kinds of things affect what happens in an emergency.
Call before you dig. That's what they say, call before you dig.
I would say fiber is probably the safest thing because it's in Kevlar, and it's basically, even if it got wet, it probably wouldn't bother it a whole lot, but it's all pretty well sealed end to end. And I mean, we've got fiber all over this building, and it's very reliable, and we have had very few instances where we have lost service with AT&T on the fiber circuits that they've installed all over the county. I mean, compared to what we had on T1s, I used to go days and hear from Judge Pena out there because his T1 service was down, particularly when it rained. it was awful. I felt sorry for him because he was having to do things manually out there. And I haven't had a call from him in probably a year and a half.
See, all of this that you're presenting here today is like a brand new education for me.
Well, we've been doing a few things, so, and all this has come to court, so it's might be a little cryptic in terms of what we asked for, but it's been through the
Language.
process.
In a different language, that's what we needed.
Well, that's what I tell people. When you talk technology, you have a whole new language and about 40,000 new words or more to learn, and it's even complicated for those of us who are in the business, because every time we turn around, there's something new. And so when we got into the phone business and they start talking IP flex SIP circuits, it's like, what the hell is that? Well, we know now. Just need to get it working. So
Thank God for Google.
Yeah. YouTube. You can find out how to do something, go to YouTube.
yeah, that's why those few fellas, young guys, are worth $45-50 million apiece, or billion. I'm sorry, I dropped a few zeros there. Any other questions on that one? We did finally hire everybody. We've hired 6 new employees in the past year, Lance being one of them. And we raided 3 other departments for some of their people, and I think they've got over some of that. Thank you, Judge. Continuing on with, morning. Continuing on the second page there, the compellent SAN is basically installed. We're waiting on Dell to come in and finish the installation on that. And that provides us 300 terabytes of storage, which is about 3 times what we have on the current EMC unit. And that is in anticipation of more and more and more documents for the courthouse and the courts and the DA all being online. And doesn't mean they're available to the public, but it does mean that storing documents is much more efficient than storing paper. And Lance will talk about that in a minute when we talk about our warehouse. There's also a disaster recovery, or DR 4300, that will back up the information currently that is on the SAN and do fast restores. So when we do have a corruption of a file or we have an email account we need to recover, that will provide that very quickly to us. We're in the process of installing 230 new PCs. We've so far installed about 80 of them. And that was approved last year in the budget to replace the old Windows XP computers that are no longer supported by Microsoft. We also installed a 50 megabit per second internet service for emergency management. We have had some discussions about possibly diverting that to the atrium or lobby for the public to use. We're still considering that option because I think when people come into a building, they really expect to have access to the internet through email and that type of thing. But a lot of that discussion comes around pornography, and the courts have already ruled that you can't restrict people from where they go on the internet. So, but it's okay to set up a separate viewing area for people that are of that disposition. But if somebody does it in the lobby, well, I think it's just one of those things that we'll have to learn by experience. So we did install a wireless link at the Port of Corpus Christi. That's part of the EOC, where they can view the cameras in the port. And so we've worked with them to get that installed and operating. We did replace finally all the monitors in here and reconnect things, and they do seem to be working a whole lot better. RTA building, we've installed all the switches over there, all the wiring over there, and that's all ready to go as far as what we need to do. We just need to get the phone service activated and we're ready to go. Continuing on the next page, not to bore you to death here, we've implemented a credit card reader in the county clerk's office. The ones that we have are not the new, what we call EVM, which is EuroPay, Visa, MasterCard standard that's used all over the world and just was implemented in the United States as of 1 October last year. Odyssey is not, our version of Odyssey currently is not compatible with the EVM type credit card readers, so we're going to just install the old ones, use them until we upgrade to the next version of Odyssey on our system. So,
Like, JPs were here yesterday, and Judge Gonzalez expressed his concern about, why don't you explain to the court a little bit better? I mean,
on the credit card readers?
credit card readers, yeah. I mean, he's saying they want to keep them until the 1st of January.
Well, I think we're going to have them longer than that. And even though the equipment will be off maintenance as of the 1st of January, you still go to stores, and there's still a lot of places that are not using the chip reader. And so there's nothing to preclude us from continuing to use those for some time into the future. The upgrade on Odyssey is dependent upon completing the implementation of Criminal, and our go-live date on that right now is going to be around just about the first week in October, and we've had to push that back, and another contract came through court for another $331,000 to bring in a full-time project manager from Tyler, and John Bernhausen is on site. He's gone through several implementations. I think he's the right guy for the job, and he does know what he's doing. And he says things are shaping up. They're really looking good, and he feels we're going to be able to make that date easily. And so, but to use the EVM card readers, we have to be on version 2014 or 2016, either one of those. Right now, we're on version 2013. And the reason we're on that is the jail interface. And we'll talk about the fact that in the next section or next year, we need to look at replacing our jail system.
Okay, you said we're on 2013 right now, but if you're on 2014 or 2015, they can use it. So if the JPs are using it, and are they on 2013 or 2014?
On 2013, they can use the old swipe machines, but they don't use the chip. So we're putting those in the field right now. So
it's got to be without the chip.
Right. So it's created a lot of chaos in all the stores because you don't know if, the chip reader's working. You have to ask, you got to use the chip or can you swipe? And the other day I was at a store and the chip wouldn't work, swipe wouldn't work, and the lady says, "Oh, I know how to get around that." And damned if she didn't. She said, "Here's how you do that. Put the card in, pull it out, swipe it, and then hit this button."
That's how you take your card numbers and you use somewhere else.
Then stand on your head and grab a it'll all work out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just had $847,000 charged to your account, right?
I was just amazed. It went right through. So there is a way.
God.
Let's see. We also, Mike Smith worked a lot with the JPs and working to get the cases cleaned up and also start getting cases referred over to Linebarger, so that's coming along.
Almost all the JPs reported.
Right.
That's good.
Except one? Two at the most, but that one, I don't know if you're ever going to bring him in, but.
It's that salt air.
Yeah, I know.
Also, Commissioner Pusley and the judges have been working very hard on the online impaneling piece. And so we have already upgraded to the version 6 of the software. And then we've already got approved in court also and installed the short messaging service, or what we call text messaging, and the interactive voice response piece, which is going to actually operate out of Vancouver, Canada. So where we've had it on site before, it's actually going to be an internet connection to Vancouver to handle that interactive voice response method of accessing the system. And of course, I'd mentioned Odyssey earlier, and that's our top priority right now. We've got several people involved in it, and I think we're on track. We got the right mix of people to get this thing done. The jury summons was redesigned also, should have mentioned, and Darrell Keach did a great job putting that together, working with the judges and Commissioner Pusley to get that thing ready to roll out, and we're going to start sending those out quickly here. Also, last year, we did about 8,000 work requests. That means calls where we had to repair computers, where we had a service call, or phone calls where we had to assist people. So we've been kind of busy, and things just don't seem to get any slower in that department.
Before we move on, Mike Scott's team, Juan and Larry, pretty much single-handedly put up that Wi-Fi that's at Robstown. They did a remarkable. That's where all the speed improvements came from that.
Yeah, those two guys are amazing. They're both Cisco certified. We've been sending them off to some kind of expensive courses, but we got to keep them entertained, and they go through those things, and it's like, oh, well, you know.
Judge Neal came roaring into my office. What the hell is this?
Well, I got hold of poor Lance because he was gone and Lance was hanging by his tie. So I ran around the corner and I said, what the hell is this for? It's a lot of money. And Lance was kind enough to settle me down and inform me that these are very important, Judge. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I got it.
They're doing good. They were at the library yesterday, too, at the Bishop.
They were at Bishop. They reconnected the 10 megabit internet circuit over there from Time Warner. They also installed the switches and the cabinet, and now all we're waiting is for the rewiring. I think we're going to be there tomorrow to meet with the guy that's going to install the cables over there, and that'll get us a lot closer to getting that place ready to open.
They kind of briefed me. I almost got after him because somebody, a brand new shelf, and they removed half of them, but it wasn't them. I thought it was them, but it was somebody from the library, so I need to talk to the library.
Yeah.
Man,
Well, and the circuit over there is going to be upgraded from 10 megabit to a 15 megabit, and we always have the option of going faster, but it's going to depend on, you know, how many people use the place and that type of
phone
thing.
lines, I got the phone lines too.
So we're going to be able to put the faster circuit in really at no additional cost because we've had that contract with AT&T for quite a while. So that'll take care of that piece, but anyway, we're trying to juggle a lot more things. So 16, 17, and some of the increases that we have in the budget here, install the IP phone system in the jail. Steve has already allocated money to make that purchase. That again will be dependent on the AT&T circuit, and so I'm hoping to get that active by the end of this week or first part of next week so we can get social services and veterans moved. We have a bunch of servers that we need to be replaced. We have replaced several already. Teresa's given me some numbers, and we have some additional money left in there where I think we can spend that on some additional equipment. And one of the things we're running into, and Commissioner Pusley and the judge are aware of this, the imaging system that we have right now is the Cairo system. And we've had that since 2002. It's a pretty good piece of software, but we need to upgrade that and do something different about our licensing on it. So, and that's all I have to say about that one. Yes, we are. I mentioned already, implement a backup and recovery system at a remote facility. We're kind of leaning towards ESC2. We need to meet with them in Region 20, and we'll see how that plays out. Also, by next year, we'll have the ADA website completed. There's been a lot of progress. Lance has been working with Vision Internet to get all that in place, and I think we're coming along finally on that. Jail Annex will be probably the next place that we'll need to look at. Don't expect to, have the money or do that project next year, but we do need to get the pricing together and figure out, because the whole annex is a mess from a wiring standpoint. So it needs to be rewired, need to have some new equipment put in over there, and that would allow the sheriff and the annex to be on the same dial plan. In other words, they can do 4-digit dialing between themselves.
Mike, I just, real quickly, and I don't know if you told the court about it yet, but the bullet point there about implementing a backup recovery system at a remote facility, did you cover that with the court before I got here?
No.
I just want to mention real quickly, Your Honor, that's something that I've had a great deal of concern about since I came here, because, you can do backups, but if this site were destroyed for any reason, it puts you in great peril with respect to, did I get the right backups done? Those kinds of things. And essentially, we were putting tapes in the back of somebody's car and sending them out of town, and that was our recovery system. So you can do remote backups, you can contract with companies to do that, and what has happened is the Education Service Center has gotten in that business. And so we can contract through them, save a lot of money doing that. But what it does is that every day, if you create a document at 8 o'clock in the morning on your computer and you delete it at 2 o'clock, we can recover that. And so, and that all gets backed up at a site away from Corpus Christi. So if a hurricane hits Corpus Christi and wipes out, this building and everything around us, our data is protected because it's in Dallas, Texas, and allows us to recover that at the time that we get our servers and whatnot back up. So it's a huge step forward for data recovery. Now, that doesn't mean that you would have a remote location for someone to go work. So that's the next step of data recovery, is you actually have a remote location where Dale could go sit down and write checks. And so that'll be the next step. But this is a big deal. I just wanted to.
And that's the great thing about it being the ESC, is normally when you contract out with a company, they'll give you a backup of your data, but where are you going to work? That's the big question. But these ESC centers are the development centers for education. They have rooms and computers and really the ability to, at the next step, without having to move anywhere else, that could be a co-location. For a price, everything costs money, but in a disaster situation, that price is probably pretty nominal to the impact.
Let's clear something up for me that I've had a concern. Well, not really a concern, but curious. Every now and then I get a message on my computer that says your mailbox is full, you cannot send any more messages, and you cannot receive any more messages, and I'm stuck, and I'm in a quandary. Well, what do I do if I eliminate all of these files? Am I subject to prosecution?
Absolutely.
Or do you automatically have copies of everything that comes in? I mean,
No.
Otherwise, I just go in. If there's no problem, what I've been doing
I delete mine.
is, I've got to. Got to keep today's business going today. So I go back and I just punch a button and destroy all that stuff.
Well, Steve and I kind of do things the same way. And what it is, we set up a folder. And I have a folder for 13, 14, 15, and I've set another one up for 16. I got that message this week also. So what I did, I went back from 1st of April all the way back into January. I took all those messages, right-clicked on it, and I said, move to folder. And I moved it to my 2016 folder. So some of those messages are important, some of them probably not. But by doing that, what that does is it transports all those off the server into a folder on your computer. And that opens up all that space.
All you got to do is worry about filling up your hard drive.
Or having the hard drive crash.
Been there 3 months, it's not important.
Somebody needs to come and show me how to do that on my computer.
Not a problem.
I will tell you one thing, I was having that continuously, because as Lance well knows, I never delete anything, but I tripped onto something one day that enabled me to clear up the problem. As you know, every time before we have a commissioners court meeting, Vicki or somebody will email us a copy of the agenda and all the 800 pages of backup. Well,
Don't mention those numbers.
It finally dawned on me one day that I had 8 years of those on my computer. So I just selected Vicki's name and all of those and deleted all those. and I haven't gotten that message since. So, I mean, it was several gigabytes of data.
Well,
And that would not be illegal for you to delete because that's public information already. It's just been something that's recreated and sent to you. So that's one way you can clear that problem up real quickly.
I don't have that problem, so I don't know what that's what you're talking about.
Old school, right, but the advantage of dropping it into a folder is the fact that you can search all those folders at the same time you're searching your email. So if you need to go look up something from Barack Obama or something like that, you can search all your folders as well as your active emails. And it works really well. So when you see that message, just take everything from the tail end of what you have there, highlight it, move it over to a folder, and then it clears up that space on the server. Bad habit a lot of people have is they delete a lot of files, but they never empty the trash bin. So if you got 15,000 emails sitting there in the trash bin, that takes up space too, because they're not gone until you click on it and delete it.
You can set up Outlook where when you log out of your email, it will automatically delete everything in your trash bin.
That's just a couple of ideas there, but we'll be glad to show you how to set up a folder under the personal folder.
The way I can say they did it.
Yep, there we go. All right, let's see. We do have some, money in the budget for replacing switches at remote offices. I think there's about 32 in there. I think, maybe we should buy half of those and then pull the switches out of those locations and use them as a backup, because a lot of our switches, just like servers, are off maintenance, and the only thing we can fall back on in that case is spares. On to the next page. There's a lot of discussion about redaction of court documents and that type of thing. The judges have had a lot of discussion about that, but my personal opinion on it is there's a lot of court documents, particularly divorce decrees and that type of thing, that have things like mortgages, accounts, bank accounts, kids' names, dates of birth, all that kind of thing. That does not need to be something that's out there for the public to consume, and we have enough problem with identity theft, and I've been through that myself. And believe it or not, my identity was stolen at the IRS 2 years in a row. Another project of interest, and this, of course, has to be after we implement the criminal piece of this thing, is the ability to do e-signatures. Save a lot of time and speed things up rather than having we're working on relocating the IT staff, which, of course, is dependent on AT&T, and Commissioner Pusley is working with an architect on some design work for us, too. The last piece, once we do get criminal implemented, is the revenue system, which is on the HP, is where adult probation keeps all of their collections, fines, fees, and that type of thing. We need to work with them to convert that data, so that data will be in their new application, which runs off the internet. So they converted to that about 2 years ago, without our knowledge, by the way. But it does have a financial piece, and we're going to work with them on moving their data over there. And of course, after that's done, after 20 years, we're going to be able to hopefully turn off the HP 3000. It's been a good system. It's run a long time, and HP discontinued maintenance on it about 5 years ago. So it's been a really good box. We're talking about setting up a training room down in room 117 on the first floor, having it equipped with projector, computers, tables, and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be available for everybody to use, and schedule meetings for that. And there's also direction that just recently came out regarding e-filing of documents in criminal cases, and that is something that will probably be implemented sometime next year after we get the criminal system up and running. So we're already doing that for civil cases. So that has really streamlined things. So when attorneys file cases or motions or whatever it is they need to do. It gets reviewed in the district clerk's office. If they accept the case, the appropriate fees are charged, and that case then is automatically created or added to in the system and stored with the appropriate case. And then we've kind of already talked about the Europay, Visa, MasterCard business for JP's district clerk and county clerk. And I'm going to turn it over to Lance because I'm tired. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right. Records warehouse out of space. I think this is kind of this has been a reoccurring problem that our records warehouse has been kind of working around for a while, but we have finally kind of reached the point of no return. So I figured I might show y'all exactly what that point looks like. So in the offices here on the left side is the district clerk's office, and just kind of showing some of the overcrowding. The boxes are stacking up in corners. The reason for that is because on the right there is the 6th floor. Typically we keep the last 8-10 years on hand. That way we can go get that stuff quickly without having to retrieve it from Records Warehouse. And even that, the boxes are stacked. I know it doesn't look like it, but that's as high as they can go. There's some sort of laser that goes across that has to be there for file arms or something. Yeah, that thing. So that's as high as they go. And the bottom right corner there is actually filing cabinets with boxes in front of them. I don't know if the filing cabinets had anything in them because I couldn't actually get there to see, but definitely showing overcrowding here in the courthouse. And this is your typical records warehouse aisle, and you can see that that's pretty full. There's some stuff on the left there, if you really peek into that corner, that there's some open spots, but that's usually just the interchange that's going on. That'll be full before you know it. That's usually just kind of when they're moving stuff from one spot to another. So we're full at the records warehouse, we're full here at the courthouse, and even the loading dock at the records warehouse is full. In that top picture, a lot of that stuff that you see, the boxes there, are misdemeanor cases that are waiting to be destroyed. There's some 13th Court of Appeals there. On the bottom, there's 13th Court of Appeals and some district attorney stuff. And then a little bit to the left of where this picture was taken is more stuff waiting on destruction. On the right there is the processing for the destruction. That's about a third of 1986. And there's 2/3 more to go in that year. And on the left there, those are district attorney boxes that even when they're approved for destruction, our shredder can't just gobble it all up. We have to pull the folders with the little metal brads. Anything above a paperclip size, I believe, pretty much has to be pulled out, and you kind of have to go through it. And when you're talking about hundreds of boxes, it really does take time to make sure you pull that stuff out. Plus, you don't want to shred a bullet or a knife. There's all sorts of stuff in the district attorney boxes that go in as evidence and such. So, moral of the story is we're completely full. But we have options. Build it, rent it, or fix it. Build the building. It'd be about $4 million to build the building, so I'm not going to ask y'all to build a building. We could rent...
What size of a building are you looking at?
Huh?
What size?
At least 73,000 square feet to hold what we have now.
73,000?
73,000.
If we want, and that's what to hold what we need now, we would need to build additionally another 30,000 square foot to that, because that's the space we need to, if we wanted to rent the space to try to accommodate our expansion, at least give us room to breathe a little. But that would be $250,000 a year to rent that. And
How many square feet do we have there?
it's about 70.
It's 56,000.
56,000
Okay.
currently.
And what's how much is the cost? What's it costing us now per square foot?
15,000 a
Month.
month, and it's roughly 26 cents a square foot.
26 cents a square foot.
The cost here is between 70 and 80 cents a square foot at current rates
To build it,
to lease.
to lease. Okay.
That'd be
I
better.
didn't see anything less than 60 cents a square foot, and that wasn't much of a bid.
And remember, Court, we looked at the old Walmart building out on Leopard Street, and it was a good building, but it was a shell. And so after we investigated it, you would have had to put new air conditioning in it, new sprinkler system, all the mechanical stuff had been ripped out of the building when they abandoned it. And so our conservative estimate was it would have taken about somewhere between $4 and $6 million to get that building operational to be able to use it. And, it would have held everything we have now, but we would have still been crowded. And we looked at, Steve and I went all over Corpus Christi with a real estate guy, and he showed us everything that was available, and most of them, well, all of them that they showed us were in worse condition than that Walmart building. So it just, it was like pouring good money after bad. So we kind of abandoned that drill.
Best option and the option we're suggesting is to fix it. We know that digital records are becoming the permanent record. It's already accepted in many cases to have a digital record as your permanent record. And we know that we're producing less. The civil e-filing has already kind of shown us that it's stopped a lot of the paperwork that comes in from that. We know that criminal e-file is on the horizon. It's showing us that we're going to get smaller. So it would be a bad idea to make more room for all this stuff if we know it's going to trend smaller. The problem is, how fast is it going to trend smaller? And what do we do with the stuff we have now? We can't just destroy it. So I'll go into that a little bit, but the highlights of fixing it are to hire additional scanning and destruction staff that will total about $151,000 a year in salaries, and outsource the shredding, because we can barely keep up with the current level of just the shredding in the courthouse and the standard stuff. We will not be able to keep up with a scanning destruction staff increase like that. And then we'll need some additional scanners and computers to facilitate that staff, which would be a one-time $27,000. If you add up all those, it actually still adds up to less than what it would cost to rent it for the first year. It would be about $10,000 or $12,000 less, and then the years after it'll be about $50,000 less. This is just kind of a breakdown to show you how it divides between the two departments, 1470 and 1304. 1470 is taking the shredding service and about $56,000 a year of the salary changes and additions and the scanners and computers. 1304 is getting 4 additional QA records clerks, which adds up to about $95,000 there. It's just a breakdown of the previous. And here's the explanation. I put together a visual. The taller the bar, the more boxes. Blue is district clerk. The green is district attorney. Yellow, 13th Court of Appeals. That gray area is kind of other. A whole bunch of departments mixed up in that. And then I put the 6th floor in there, which I'll talk about in a second. This will give you an idea of how much of our storage, who is storing in the records warehouse. And we expect it to see it to be predominantly district clerk. The district clerk is our permanent record. So in the district clerk, there's 21,149 boxes, roughly. And the next highest user of the storage is the district attorney, which has about 7,000 boxes. The little striped red line is the shreddings that we've done. Now, we started destroying these documents about 8 or 10 years ago, I believe. In 8 or 10 years, that little red striped section is all we've been able to do. If you take that much space and you kind of tried to fill the entire rest of the space, we are talking decades of shredding, which we cannot wait decades to accomplish this. So 2 people is not going to get this done. There's also another thing to worry about. If you notice that there's a big line there, 1950, everything before that was deemed historical, and we cannot touch it once they deem it historical. It used to be 1930. They moved it to 1950. If they move that to 1970, we're going to have, a big chunk that we have to hold on to at that point, because you can't touch it at that point. And the truth is that in that blue section you see there, probably about 1% of that is actual permanent record. Each one of these files will be huge, and we keep just a few papers of record that's considered permanent, which we can store digitally. So somebody has to go through the box and pull out the permanent records and make sure that we have those scanned into the system. This isn't something that we can just hire a company to come in and scan and take care of it, because it requires special knowledge of what documents we need to keep. We don't want to scan them all, because that would be a 95% waste of our time, because most of that is not permanent record. We really need to make sure that we get ahead of the game here, because if they do the historical change that date on us, if we've gone through those years and minimized them to what is actually the permanent record, then even if they do it, we won't have any kind of major overhead. Plus, we're running out of space, as you've seen from the pictures. And if you notice, there's missing sections. The civil cases stop about 2006. Those are really here. They kind of pick up here. There's stuff moves its way that direction, especially in the criminal and civil areas where people keep stuff in the office, as you saw from the pictures, and the 6th floor. But what's interesting is the 13th Court of Appeals. That section virtually stopped once e-filing, civil e-filing began. And we know that they are already, I can't remember the date for it, but it was 2016 or 2017, I think, for criminal e-filing is beginning. So we expect to see the criminal line draw in the sand, which means that we're not going to have a lot of stuff to go for, going forward, but we still have a whole lot of stuff going backward to take care of. In typical criminal cases, the felony cases, you don't have to keep things past 25 years. That's an overgeneralization, but if you draw a line at the 25-year mark and you just draw that line across the board and look left, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 boxes that need to be destroyed just in the district clerk alone, plus all the stuff that's already in the 6th floor, which is at the bottom there.
Lance, but also the misdemeanor cases, some are 5 to 10 years only, and that could be in there. JPs have a lot of cases in there that they've been there 20 years, and the county courts also have misdemeanor cases that have been there 20 years, and those could be destroyed without even having to go take anything out, because by law you could destroy those after 5. The most is 10 years. So one time, I don't know, Judge, remember that JPs were taking turns going to the warehouse to shred and try everything, and that kind of stopped. But at one time we had looked at it, getting a team of people, like 6 people, and part-time, they don't have to be full-time, but part-time to go out there and do nothing but shredding. All those cases that were past the 5 years, past the 10 years, past the 20 years, and then you don't have to really pull anything out and make copies of or anything else. So by doing it, I think that you would get rid of a lot of cases with a team of maybe 5 or 6 people that does nothing but shredding. I don't know, maybe would it make a dent in that if you have them for 5 port time, 6 port time for a year to do that?
The problem
Just look, if
is,
you look at there, the misdemeanor section is, even though that it is a lot of
Oh, but it-
cases, it's not a lot of paper.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I don't know, some JP cases has a lot of paper, but that's even better because they can get rid of them a lot faster, But I think if you get rid of your misdemeanor cases, I mean, you're making a big impact on the stores that you have. JPs, county attorney, county court of law, all this risk management, all this, I mean, if you get rid of that, I think you're making an impact. And I think Mr. Biddle and I, we talked about that a while back, and I don't know what would be the answer to that, but, or what, other than paying somebody, other than hiring somebody full-time, but then we hire 6 people part-time and have them do that instead of having to pay benefits and all that, but.
We did have a number of part-time people or temporary people over there, and when the changes in the Obamacare thing, now they can only work 29 hours a week. We ended up converting most of those positions several years ago to permanent positions. That's my recollection. We had all these temporary people, but those positions got made permanent because of the length of time they can work. So you end up having.
So what's the length of time? A year or 6 months?
Well, no. If you work, we limit any temporary employee working to 29 hours per week, and so as soon as you go by that, now you have to talk about paying insurance and paying all the other benefits and.
What if they're working 25 hours?
Well,
But go
the
ahead.
other problem is our shredding equipment that we own is not really commercial shredding equipment, so it's like trying to drain the lake with a water hose.
Well, I guess we have to buy equipment and
Yeah,
let
you
them
got to
use
go
it.
buy the equipment, and then
Sure.
you've got the liability of the hazards of working around that kind of equipment. I mean, it's a big deal.
at EOG, you did this once and then they stopped doing it and I had to do it again. When you add up hours of any more than one employee, and even that one employee when it starts to approach the $10 and $12 an hour mark, you cannot beat the cost of a shredding company. They can do it faster and better. And faster is the key, because hours spent in front of the shredder is what adds up. But the bigger problem really is our goal with all of this that we've just presented is to get to 50 boxes per week. We're currently doing 5 to 10. And that 5 to 10 is probably a little optimistic, but
You're almost there.
it's a lot of boxes. In 10 to 15 years, it's going to take us 10 to 15 years to destroy those 25,000 boxes that are
I agree with you.
going.
I don't believe me, I agree with you.
So, and that's with a full staff of, I believe, about an increase of 8 that we're looking at adding there. So the good news is that it'll free up about 15,000 square foot, and it should, in the very near future, start opening opportunities for us to maybe free up 6th floor space while we're in that transition period to reduce our overall archival impact. As a quick side note, this is 1470 and 1304. We also have a demand increase in the digital permanent record and QCing those, quality control of those digital civil permanent records that our records imaging team, when the 0131 group is doing right now. We're kind of in desperate need of the team leaders and the leadership, that's actually assigning the role of that leadership to those guys to keep up with the hundreds of cases a month that they're reviewing, imaging, and correcting. They're also taking those documents and feeding them into Odyssey, which is a step that our records warehouse does not do, because Odyssey requires individual training. They also verify the privacy compliance, which kind of falls into the whole redaction, privacy, all these new rules that are coming out. That one specifically is the Rule 21C. And of course, the overall quality control of the permanent record. It doesn't do us a lot of good to have a permanent record if it's wrong. So that team also needs a little bit of a hike to help keep up with that and lead the way into that. Overall, all these increases on the scanning, imaging, permanent record side still add up to less than what it costs, which was our next cheapest option, which is to rent it.
Is that Ms. Hinojosa? It's 0131 Ms. Hinojosa, or is that somebody?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's it. You're still alive. Still awake.
Back up to your slide where you showed the, let's see, go back.
This one?
Again. Yeah, okay. So, Your Honor and Commissioners, what we've discussed is, we've got land, we could build a building and continue doing what we're doing, but as I told Judge Neal the other day, I said, we need to build a building that has a movable wall, because we'll never be able to build one big enough if we keep doing what we're doing. And if we go rent one, it's the same problem. We're just going to keep renting, if we rent 30,000 square feet, in 5 years we'll need another 30,000.
It's like building jails.
Yes.
If we needed that space, that would be one thing. But 95 to 99% of these boxes that are sitting there are not permanent record. So even if we needed the revolving wall, that would be great, but we don't. We need somebody to go through and prepare all the 95% for destruction. That's the meat of it.
So if we focus on destroying boxes and getting things out, like Lance and Mike were talking about, and then focus on scanning the data that we have, then we can start reducing the requirement of the square footage that we're going to need. And also, as Lance said, we saw a dramatic drop-off in the amount of paperwork the district clerk was creating once the e-filing took place, and we fully suspect that's going to happen with the criminal side. So hopefully, by doing this, going down this path, we'll eventually catch up to the problem.
I think you will. Let me ask some questions about some of this other stuff. $81,000 for T1 services. What do we have to do there? $135,000 for maintenance and repair of equipment. $15,000.
1240 budget.
Yeah.
And it's up,
RTA.
it's on your screen right now.
135,
No,
disaster recovery.
it's not on my screen.
Well, that's a category,
50 to
and
30.
actually the T1 services, we don't have those anymore. And so what this is, these are the additional circuits that are supporting the remote county locations. So these are the fiber optic Time Warner circuits that we've installed, 20 of them.
Well, do we have to have this? That's what I'm trying to ask you guys.
Absolutely, because that interconnects all of our remote offices. For example, the JPs need to use the Odyssey system. That fiber optic circuit is how they connect.
Or how about the 135,000?
Let's see, which one's that?
Right, that's your,
It's a maintenance repair.
Yeah, that's additional maintenance contracts that we're going to have for the new equipment services that equipment we're putting in,
So you got to build that into your budget.
the maintenance, yes.
Let
And
me-
15,000?
following up on the judge's question though, in the fairgrounds and those circuits, some of that's in place already.
Right.
And you did away with some T1 lines.
T1
didn't you? So, I mean, are we offsetting those costs? Is this all an additional cost over and above the
Well,
T1s? I mean,
for example, we added the 200 megabit circuit to the fairgrounds. Okay, that was not something that was on T1 before. So that's running about $2,300 a month for that particular circuit at that location, which we intend to share with the library. So right there, you're looking at roughly $30,000.
That's $30,000 a year for that one circuit?
Well, it's a big circuit.
You mean they didn't have him at Walmart?
Not that kind of service, Judge.
But
You
we're
know,
paying
Mike-
we're paying for that right now.
Yes,
I mean,
we
we're
are.
paying some of that right now. So again, is this a prorated cost? I mean, it's hard to get our heads around. I mean, it's hard for me to get my head around the $81,000 because
Yeah.
they're ready for this year. 15-16 budget, we had $417,000 in this line item, and it appeared, and that was a big increase from last year. If you go back in 14-15, 13-14, I mean, we've increased that by close to $200,000. And I know there's a lot of stuff that we're bringing on that during this period of time, but we need a number that's bare minimum rather than a comfortable number, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to belittle what you're saying, but every time I take a deep breath in this courthouse, I'm looking at the two of you saying, I need more money, and not being ugly or everything else, but that's the way it has been for the last 2 or 3 years, is every time we take a deep breath here, we spend another $2 or $3 million in IT, and 6 new people and all this equipment and $500,000 to shred stuff and everything else. And pretty soon the tail's wagging the dog here, and the dog's out of breath. And somehow together, with Commissioner Pussley, we got to figure out how to rein this thing in a little bit so we can do all the rest of the stuff we've got to do in the courthouse and keep up with the stuff you guys want. And I know it's important. I know it's important. First time that judge upstairs turns on the computer and it doesn't work, it's not just your butts on the line, it's mine in the courts, and I got that. But I've looked through this, and if I'm reading this stuff right, Mike, there's a request for more people.
That's an additional manager. In particular, that's for the systems management piece of this, and I do think that's an important position.
$200,000 worth of more people?
Well,
$250,000 worth of shredders, $200,000 worth of more people, $200,000 worth of toys to go in the middle.
Judge, and this $200,000 is just in IT. It's not in this plus the other people we talked about for the other stuff that Lance was talking about. It's all in addition to these 200.
I know, so we're talking about $1 million here in request, and I got it. It's important. It's very important. But we just spent a lot of money upgrading the whole IT department, and now we need another bunch of folks.
well,
I think we're upgrading 2 of them too, right?
Well, yeah, I understand this, but
well, you can see we have a very long list of projects, and it all depends on how much of that we choose to do, and some of that certainly could be delayed another year. We don't, for example, we don't have to go into the redaction business. We don't have to do that.
well, Mike,
But those are things.
I know, and again, I'm not beating on the two of you because you're standing here. I'm trying to get a realistic number. This court is trying to get a realistic number because we were so far behind 6 or 8 years ago, and we've spent, and you all have done a great job of getting us to where we are, and I know we never catch up.
We won't.
We never catch up in IT, and what we're trying to do is, as you know, move you and give you more room and all the other stuff, and yet we won't have another budget request this year from any department that approaches $1 million. And so I'm going to have to ask you guys to work with Commissioner Pussley and let's squeeze this thing to what has to be done to keep us close. And I realize this shredding stuff is really important. I got that. We have that. We have to move on that. But I'm going to have to ask you all and Commissioner Fussily to really scrub the rest of this stuff and see what 2016 really has to be done so we can have a realistic number to plug in the budget, if you can, please, for us. Mike, I don't know if you heard me, Mike, but you stepped out a minute. But no, that's fine. I'm just saying we have $1 million worth of requests here when you add all that stuff up with people and everything else, and we're not going to be able to do that
I understand.
this year. But if we need to do $300,000-$400,000 worth of this year, that's one number. And so you guys got to get with the commissioner and help us really do that. And shredding is important. I know we need to really look at that. So can you help us do that, please? And work with commissioner and bring us a number back, because there's a lot of stuff in here.
We'll do that.
Okay?
Okay.
Doing a great job.
Well, we
And
tried.
we're proud of all of our new people and what you're doing, really are. But,
Well, we got a lot done last year. There's a lot more to do.
yeah, and we want to support you in doing that. But you got to help me.
All right, sir.
Got to help us,
Not a problem.
please. And if it's near this to make it work, we'll have to figure out how to do it. But, okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very, very much. Yeah.
This is our latest JP report.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, could we have a copy of your presentation? I thought it was really interesting.
PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll send it to you.
We'll email it to you.
All right. See if my mailbox is not full.
We'll have to send an IT guy to you first.
You can delete mine too.
Sandy, your boss is not here, is she? Is she on the way?
She has a meeting at the Attorney General's office.
That's what I heard.
And, I do have a copy of the information that.
You want to go ahead and make your presentation this morning,
I
please?
can't sure, or if there's any questions on.
Let's do
on
that.
any of the
I've got-
items.
Coastal Park's breathing hard back there, and they just got here, and so if you could go ahead and keep us close to schedule this morning, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, this is the county clerk.
And on some of these, of course, under the general county clerk, we do have the addition, which is going to be our continuance pay. We had included that. We have a couple of employees. Also, there was a scanner, I think was one of the original ones that was, I think, implemented or put into place whenever the agenda builder came on. That one has been acting up, and we do only have one. And I believe that one, I think, right now is priced at about $1,600. Unless IT or if there's another refurbished one, we'd be more than glad to acquire that. Under the Treasury, on that one, we do have also the continuance pay, which is 17, which is pretty much, I guess that's already included with auditors' numbers. The migration to Odyssey, right now, what we have in Treasury is we have a total of 3 employees, of course, counting our CPA auditor, our accountant. And he has actually lost one of his employees to come and take over one of our collections positions. So we're looking there for a little bit on overtime, about $5,000. We do have 5 employees currently in collections. They will need to, and they have been attending training in IT with Elaine, Mike Smith, trying to get the training that we need, because I believe we'll be moving from the mainframe over to Odyssey.
So you're actually trying to just reclassify one of your major an employee from clerk to manager?
That one for collections, yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. And on that one, she has done a really good job. She's kind of taken that managerial role.
Okay.
And as you're aware, Judge, I believe you were just recently sent a letter from the Collection Improvement Program that we have the audit that's
Right.
due July 6th. So we did have a representative from the Office of Court Administration came by yesterday, and he's saying so far we're on track. And so, of course, the employee that we are, hoping to be able to reclass, she's been a major player in making sure that we are getting the information that we need. He did say, as far as, the time-wise, that we should be able to meet our deadline and be able to satisfy all the requirements that they're asking for in that report.
So you're rather simple today, aren't you?
It is.
Good.
Say the last one, of course, is going to be the election. With that, of course, we did lose one of our key players
Right.
in the election to IT. And so we are looking to probably outsource that to Hart. Right now, they're still kind of going through, the quoting price to see how much that's going to cost us. And so with that, like I say, we're going to go ahead and downgrade actually that position to an election clerk. So we would have a total of 2. And they'd be the ones mainly responsible for making sure we have all of our HR paperwork for any temporaries. Of course, getting with advanced temporaries for any of our contract personnel that we use out at the polling sites. Also for the, for getting the locations. And we are going to be doing partial on some of the data entry and application, information manipulation, as far as like we would still do the routes for the technicians. Of course, we still manage, the invoicing for that. Kind of sharing that, training with elections, so that way it kind of helps whenever it comes time for billing and whenever it comes time to the budget. So that's pretty much on the salary part. Of course, for the temporaries, that would be, that additional 1 or 2 weeks prior, and then 2 weeks right after the election, that a lot of times we need that additional help just to kind of recoup. So we can't directly bill. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, the overtime on that, we are looking to, right now, we're scheduling, I believe, through VOTEC. I believe there's like 2 or 3 other applications, and so we're trying to get those scheduled so that we can get that additional training, mainly because we're losing our key player.
Right.
And so now we need to get, and of course, the other 2 employees that are there are still fairly new.
It's different. It's just different than that.
Okay. Steve, do you have any comments now about what you did? Anybody have any questions? Sandy, we appreciate your being here.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thanks for moving us through that very quickly. Thank you. We are now to the point of having our coastal parks presentations.
Is it chilly in here, everybody? Is it just?
Oh, if you, yeah. Yeah, it's cold.
Feels good to me.
Howdy.
Howdy. Questions?
You gotta get permission to do that, sir. You gotta have permission.
I took it easy on you last year, Judge. I can't say that much this year.
Well, go ahead and get started, and I'll treat you the same way I
We
did IT.
might say the same thing.
Thank you for being here, Scott.
Yes, sir. Great past couple of days. I'll update you later. We had much success.
Good.
Okay. I don't want you to, Steve, Dale, Judge, on these projections, on these estimated revenues, we put our money in the bank weekly. So every month, I can tell you, these estimated actual revenues that are reflected here, they don't reflect June. And we're going into July, and June, July, and August, as you know, is a money-making month for us. Our occupancy rates right now are running 20% above what they did last year, and they were already high last year. So I'm just talking about if you're looking at any estimated actual revenues, estimated actuals on any budget sheets for 15, 16, when you look at them, you can't take those to the bank because they don't reflect where we're really at. For instance, on estimated actual revenues for beach parking stickers, it reflects $294,000. We're already at $302,000.
Well, I don't think commissioners, I don't have a copy of those either, so.
Okay, great. Well, anyhow, I didn't know what you had and what you didn't have. All right, on salaries, those are the changes I'm recommending. Pretty much straightforward. It's something that I'm anticipating we need, specifically over at Padre Bayou with the growth and the doubling of that park. One of the things I'm advocating for is the assistant director's position. It's titled assistant director officially, but the pay is at assistant manager. Fix that. And last year, I was given a one parks and beach worker position. Thank you, I didn't even know it. I didn't ask for it. And however that came about, but I'm asking that's not what I really need. If I have a Parks and Beach worker position that's given to me, I need to reclassify that to a Parks and Beach worker 2. So if you decide you don't want to do that, don't throw anything at me that I don't ask for. And on the expense at 180 has had a rough time this year. Steve and Dale know this. I've struggled. We have had roughly, especially in repairs, buildings and grounds, I got hit really hard this year with unexpected maintenance issues, just things breaking down. So I did a lot of line item transferring within the allotted budget I had. Just to give you an example, of the $170,000 that's given to me in that one line item, I've never in our 7 years, except for this year, come close to spending that down. Almost $100,000 of that has already been spent towards broken air conditioners, electrical issues, roof leaks, just things like that hit us. So the big ticket item for next year as far as maintenance, repair, buildings and grounds, we're going to have to rewire both the piers. The wiring on both those piers was done in 1980, and I know that we've had some issues with the electrical out there, keeping the lights on. It's been hodgepodge together and worked on since 1980, and those piers make a lot of money, and I'm estimating between engineering and construction for both piers, it's going to cost about $200,000. Unless it's afforded to me in my budget. I don't have it the way my budget is set up.
Well, let me stop there for a second, Scott, if I may. But this pier operation, it's a major capital improvement over there. It's a major capital repair, and traditionally that has always come out of the 182s where we're putting money from the pier.
181.
What's happened is the board is taking all that money and buying new stuff, and there's nothing left to take care of.
Okay.
I'm just talking with the court to where, but we have never. I mean, to come up with to cover this here, your general fund has got a major hit, and so.
Okay.
I mean, would you not? I mean, the part of the fees that you collect over there automatically go into 182.
That's for Bob Hall.
Right.
Horse Caldwell Pier's not set up that way.
Right, I understand that, but still, there's money that's transferred over there, and
182 does well. 182 is a prime example of a true business model working in the confines of county government. 182 makes enough money every year to provide its total operating revenue for the next year, and the rest is transferred into 180 like we set up to help ease the burden of 180 operations. So 182, the pier operation, if you look at 182 doesn't cost a taxpayer a dime.
Yeah, I was meaning 181, 181 is, understand the pier operation.
181, a percentage, commissioners.
It's always been for major capital stuff.
Yeah, and 181, a percentage of all of our sales with RV sites. A percentage is transferred into 181. It's kind of like what they call the parks improvement account, or I can't remember what we call it. But
There's a,
You know what, I like to see, Steve, also, that we have somebody, the sheriff or something, what's coming in that goes into what budget? I'm kind of lost here, but.
well, 170 is 180 is for day-to-day normal operations. Dale, is that your understanding? It's always been day-to-day normal operations.
It's your 180 for Coastal Parks is like our general fund, yes.
And then there is the
181 is.
81, which funds have been moving into there from some fees that were collected, et cetera, that in the past have been used for some of these. And there's a contingency right now of 1.7 million there, but again, I know that.
And that's the fund we're using right now to help assist on the Padre Bali improvements that we're currently working on.
And yes, I think what you would agree, Scott, I think the park board is ready to come up with plans to spend that 100% of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're set here now with the general fund, if we really need to do this stuff on
Okay, when you say you're going to spend that, what are you going, something new is going to come up or something?
Well, you're going to double your revenue.
Okay, so we double the revenue, but why are we digging back into the general fund? And if we're doubling everything, I mean, I understand.
No, when you say you're going to double the revenue, and that's very well may going to happen, Scott. When it happens, if you say it's happening now, well, then we don't need to take
Right.
the 190,000 out of 180.
Well, this is just my best case scenario that I'm proposing. I mean, in the end, you are going to move things around, and the dust is going to settle where it settles. So I don't know how we're going to do it, but those piers for a long time have generated a lot of revenue. Are we going to have enough sales next year off of 180 to have enough money put into 181 to make that repair? I don't know. We consistently have exceeded revenue projections for 7 years in a row now. So we're going to double the size of Padre Bali. We're going to double the size of I.B. McGee. So, it's possible.
And do we have to double the size?
We already are in our park. Why not? Why not make more money?
I'm just asking why. I mean, do we have to double it? I mean, if we get
Well,
that
when he
much-
says double,
that much-
what he's saying is the amount of revenue they're taking in is going to be doubled. The work that they just completed in the Padre Bali, the campground is going to, he's saying it's going to double the amount of money we get.
That's a 181 fees from that?
No, Commissioner, what happens is my 181 operating account, every time you come and you rent an RV spot from me, there's a percentage of that sale that goes to 181.
Right, I understand
Yeah.
that.
And so we're going to double the size of that park, which is going to double that revenue, and then it's going to increase the amount that's going into 181. And the same thing for I.B. McGee. It'll go into 181. And hopefully by the time I'm done next year, we'll triple
I'd like
it.
to see a breakdown of what's coming into each one of those and what are the balances of the revenues and I know there's 2 or 3 budgets here or 4 maybe, I don't know, but I haven't seen them and I think I need to come and give me a breakdown of what.
But Dale's works on the revenue, and that's really the piece that I think right now he's done some work on it, and we just.
Does the board take on some expenses besides just budgets here?
What do you mean?
Board, I mean, I know the board is I'm not too clear on the board either. It's a functioning board. I guess they collect monies also, right?
No. The board is under Section 321 in the Natural Resources Code. The Texas General Land Office, they're appointed, by the judge and the county commissioner to provide oversight for the entire operation out there.
I'd like to have a breakdown of what.
If I may comment, I mean, this is really what they're asking for, what we really need to do, and we'll have that when we come back to the court to following on, but we need to have a good estimate of the revenue, which Dale will work, and Scott says, I understand, that by the time we come back to the court in August, we'll have another month's worth of revenue. So we'll be able to tell you, the only way to tell you is we have to see how much you're taking in, and then what the expenditures we can take without having to have a major increase on the general fund. That's the big thing that I think the court is concerned, is that we don't have a huge increase on that contribution the general fund has over there. And so if the revenues are, that Scott is talking and Dale can confirm those, well, then we'll come back and say, well, he does have that projected revenue. Is that fair?
Steve, however y'all want to do it. One of the things that I did, let me find that sheet.
So Steve, just so I understand, so what you're saying is the $254,000 really belongs under a capital
Well, typically, yes. That
expenditure budget?
The paving, typically the paving stuff we've done out there, we've done with RTA funds. I'm not sure how much of that is. I think they've obligated a lot of, these are things that we've never spent them in 180. It's been, like I say, RTA funds have been used for a lot of the paving. And then the pier repairs, we've never, had this type of major repair that was directly funded there. Now, if the revenues internally are being generated to cover that, that's okay. But if the court has to transfer $250,000 from the general fund to cover this, then I think you'd want to take a hard look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Now, and Commissioner, I'm going to clarify something. In repairs, buildings, and grounds, under 180, I get $170,000 every year, and I work with that. But that's operational. In other words, that covers all kinds of operational and smaller repairs that I can do. So, essentially, if you were looking at some of this paving and the hot water heater, that could be covered under what I'm already allotted. But I can't do all of that right now with the budget I'm allotted and do the wiring of both piers. It's just not there.
I understand that.
Yeah, and so that's why I just wanted to clarify.
I understand that, but
Okay.
I still want to know what the revenues are.
Okay.
I guess unless, there's going to be some increases to over a non-capital, we're going to need 2 new UP scanners, the washer and dryers for that new restroom and laundry facility that we're building out there, that's reflected there. We anticipated $5,000 in telephone utilities and $10,000 increase in electrical usage just because we're doubling the size of the park. That may not be 100% accurate, which is just a guesstimate. On the, let me see here where I put that. On this capital outlay, we need to replace a tractor over at Padre Bay. We replaced one this year within our budget that we had at I.B. McGee that just got rusted and wore out. And these aren't giant tractors. These are just like a farm-style John Deere tractor. We got a truck that's going to have to be replaced or not. The computer and the receipt printer, that's for the to be able to do additional reservations and check-ins at the parks with what we're doing. The trash pumps that are there, I'm afraid what's going to happen is with those lift stations that we got, those lift stations, when they were built, for whatever reason, they were just centrifugal pumps. Those lift stations take everything from the park, the piers, and the restrooms on the front, and they pump that to the city's main. They really should have been should have been fitted with grinder pumps because everything goes through there. And so with the new load that we're fixing to put on that lift station, the other lift station, that's what that's for. So one of the things that we did when we went back, and this is ours, working with Elva, she had estimated actuals for 15-16 and then budgeted 16-17, as far as revenues and expenses, she showed a deficit of $208,407. There's your peer right there. And we,
Say it again.
she shows,
But you said a deficit. If we're in a hole already, how are we going to do up here?
no, I'm,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, I'm saying that's, if you do your peer, that's putting you in the hole.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm not sure.
Again,
Oh, y'all don't have this. I didn't know y'all didn't have this. Okay. Never mind. This is enough. I'll just come back.
well, this is again, you're telling us what, the things you would like going forward, and the revenue, again, is something that the auditor, by statute, does, both estimating the current year's revenue and actually the current year fund balance, and then the estimated revenue for next year, and so they're working on that as we're talking now, and when those are things that we'll cover when we come back to the court, and once we have that, and you can take a look at what's available, then there may be a need to have Scott come back and prioritize or whatever he needs there. But right now, you don't have enough information. I don't have enough information. Dale doesn't have it all there either yet. So, we can't really project, where you're going to be there.
Yeah. But realistically, I'm anticipating with the growth that we're sustaining right now, because we are growing, that whether it's reclassification on the salary side or whether it's a one-time injection to help us deal with some repair issues, that I anticipate it. Some kind of an increase from the general fund, whether you approve it or not. I'm just going to be straight up with you. So,
Well, Scott, like you were saying that you expect an increase for your RV park rentals when you open up Pottery Barley and also IB McGee. Right now, we're not factoring any increase in that because we don't know when they will become operational. Until we know when they become operational, the only time we'll know how much additional revenue to include.
yeah. No, I understand that.
That's where we're coming up. Where right now we're in the process of trying to determine this, and we need your assistance to tell us when they become operational.
And Dale and them, they're good on conservative estimates on our revenues. I do provide him input on what I think it's going to be, and to my benefit, he's conservative with it, and I'm always over it. So that's a good thing. This year's been a tough year. It has just been a tough year. We've got a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of construction, major construction that's going on. And, I hope that by November of this year, I'm walking in here with a multi-million-dollar check for you guys, and we won't have any more problems. Because that's when they're going to release the BP funds. So
We're all hoping for that.
We'll be excited when that happens.
but on as far as the position thing, gentlemen, I have looked at this every which way but Sunday on, can I find third-party vendors to provide these services? Do I need to contract them out? Is it, what do I need additional FTEs? Do I need to reclassify? Whatever I could do, And so I'm not one of these who thinks I've got to grow this big employee chiefdom. That's what the city does. I want to find a way to do it more efficiently and more cost-effective, because that's what I've got to do for the people who live here and pay taxes. So this is one of the things I'm struggling with, and I've talked with Julie in HR about this, and I know I've mentioned it to Steve before, that the train has left the station. We're fixing to double these parks. What are we going to do to maintain the level of customer service that's going to keep people coming to us and generating that revenue? And so we're looking at how do we restructure, how do we reorganize. When this department got annexed into the city, everybody just took a cut from the pie, And we really didn't really look at, what our mission was. I wasn't around then, but what the mission was and what titles and positions needed to be. So I've been slowly trying to work that and morph that back into something that's realistic with what we're doing now while we're growing. So this is just my first best effort at trying to make something work down there.
Okay. Just so I can recap with you.
Yes, sir.
We have no total, but we have some non-capital requests for, I don't know, $20,000 or whatever that is. Then we have capital request for
82.
82 is for, what's the first number? Steve, do you have the first number totaled?
No, I don't. I took it off.
That's right. Okay, that doesn't matter. 82, adjustments in the...
14,000.
Huh?
The first number is 14,000.
Well, okay. $100,000 there, 44,000 in requested personnel movements, 250,000 to repair the wiring in the two.
Judge, if you take a look at what I have on the screen there.
I have.
I think the total was 412,000 is what he's asking for additional funds.
Well, I was trying to get there. I saw that number.
And that,
And the capital outlay, you just gave me a number.
the 42.3 is, that's capital outlay. The non-capital is does that show up? The non-capital, it says here 14,000 what he's requesting.
Well, that 42 doesn't add up to 80, and there was 80 on the sheet.
Yeah, you guys 82,
Before
you
you
want
renewal,
42
maybe
additional
it's
from last year, Judge. If you take, his total, all of the right here, look on my screen, it's
Yeah.
82,300. He's asking for 42,300 addition to what he had last year. And so, in looking at this spreadsheet,
I'm sorry, I got it.
yeah, so the total increase he wants is 412.
I'm okay. I got it. I was at, the 82 is inclusive of the current budget amount. Okay. So the budget request to go up is
Substantial.
400,000.
Yes, sir.
Substantial. Yeah, substantial. Okay, any questions, other questions, Scott? How's your projects doing?
We're doing good. We should be finished with Padre Valle the second week of September.
Good.
And they're well ahead of schedule, very aggressive schedule for that. And then we have on our park board agenda this afternoon to execute an A&E contract to start I.B. McGee. So,
Busy time.
yeah. I mean, revenues are great this year, better than I've ever seen them. Occupancy levels are just through the roof. And I don't know whether it's fuel prices, just good weather, but I've never seen
Superior management.
I don't know about that, sir, but I've never seen it like this before. It's through the roof.
Well, that's good.
Scott,
Okay.
Your Honor, if I
Yep,
could,
please.
on the biggest ticket item here, I guess, is the rewiring of the pier,
Mhm.
right? $190,000.
Yeah.
Plus the paving. Is that something you could defer until you, like Dale said, you get a better handle on your projected revenues, or, I don't know, Steve, what do you think?
Well, Commissioner, I can address that. We were looking at our projections of both, all of the funds of the coastal parks, 180, 181, and 182. If we do our estimates for 181, which is where his beach improvements are, there'll be enough funds to cover this cost. We're probably, right now, if the estimates hold true, we'll probably have $200,000 to $300,000 extra that we can use to cover the cost.
Okay.
So this could definitely be part of the 181 repairs.
So it's not a matter of the cost, we just got to put it in the right place.
Right.
Okay.
And as usual, this type of thing, I think we put it as a contingency thing, so if the revenues don't go normal, we don't find ourselves.
And like Scott was saying, they're working on most of the improvements for the Padre Valle is coming out of 181, and they're doing very well on the expenses. They're having where they're coming under their estimated cost. So the funds we have there that was from the commissioner and judge as well, that we probably have some funds there, and it may be a little bit better than what we are projecting. We hope they are.
Mhm.
But there should be enough funds there to cover the cost for the repairs of both piers in 181.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
But it says here under 180, 254,000 for the rewiring of the piers.
Well, they were rewiring, what Scott said, there would be about 200,000. He wants to do some paving at both areas for the additional cost to get the 254. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. 40,000 in paving at Padre, 20,000 paving at Packery. Actually, that paving at Packery, that's to improve the ADA access. Now, I don't know if that's covered in anything else that you are already working on in the county, but I know we got gigged on that and with the DOJ, and so I'm just looking at, okay, how can I make that specific parking and ADA access? That's what that's exactly for.
Well, we're working that issue right now.
And so I know that the polling places were your priority, and so.
Well, we have 46 priorities right now.
Yes, sir, I understand. So I just thought, well, I'll do what I can to help, I'm
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Look, we're not picking on you. You guys have done a great job out there.
No, I know
you are. You have and you are, and it's one of the bright spots in the county where there's a real opportunity to have some revenue, and we appreciate all the hard work you did, all of it. This is a busy time out there. I was out there the other day, and people are like ants. I don't know where they're coming from. They're just all over that island. I was told last night that the motels on the island and Port Aransas are booked full through Labor Day.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way we are. We have one lull now.
Yeah.
Our
through
lull is in
Labor
May.
Day.
We have one lull in May
Yeah.
and then one in September, because I don't think people realize all the winter Texans come down
Yeah.
and they get us back up to 100% occupancy through the winter, through April.
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
but
Anyway.
Everybody's pushing me to get to 100% self-sustaining. I'll go 90% because I want y'all to have some skin in the game, because if you don't, I can't come crying to you.
There you go.
So,
Hey, good job. Thank you. We'll
right.
work the numbers and see
Okay.
where we are.
Hey,
Anything
thanks.
else?
Thanks, Scott.
no, sir.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. I see people from the accounting department back there, Dale. Are they here just to observe your performance, or what are they? Okay. This completes all the workshops. Give us about 6 weeks, and we'll have the numbers massaged for everybody and do the best we can to what we've been requested to do, and then that we've got schedule on the schedule in August, and so July is going to be a busy time for Dale and Steve and myself and a couple others. So you guys enjoy the summer, and if you have any questions, we'll let us know. But we've got all your recommendations, and we have the recommendations of the departments, and the fun starts now. And so we'll work through this as quickly as we can. And any input you have, please give it to us, and we'll be ready to start beating on each other here in about 6 weeks. So it'll have a good summer.
So you want some more input before we meet or when we meet?
We won't meet again until August, whatever it is. It's on the calendar we gave you, Joe. I think it's on the calendar. Yeah. Okay, well, have a great summer, and thanks to everybody, and thanks to all our departments, and hope we weren't too hard on anybody, but
Thank you, guys.
we have a real opportunity to discuss with you guys on the 13th. So thank you.